Hi there, Dr. Liz Carter here, and today I'm really excited to share with you my 3 easy and free hacks to kick your cold out now. So I've seen a ton of issues go around the office lately, everything from GI stuff to little sniffle to full-blown fever, cough, congestion, really full-on flu symptoms. So these are the top 3 tips that I tell all of my patients, and oftentimes when they follow them, they really reduce the amount of time that they're sick, which is fantastic, right? We all want to get back to our lives as quickly as possible and as painlessly as possible. And oftentimes we do really have to go through a little bit of pain when we're sick, but that's okay because that means we're getting better. Oftentimes when patients do this protocol, they can reduce the amount of time they're sick by up to 50%, which sounds totally crazy, right? But bear with me, they are simple, but they're often very difficult to actually implement, and you'll kind of see why when we get into that. But if you do take the time and allow yourself to really get into these simple tricks and allow them to happen, they work miraculously well. Our body responds extremely well to them. So let's dive right on in. The first thing I'm going to talk about is water. So drinking lots of water. And if you follow my videos, you know that I did a video on water last week. If you haven't seen that, feel free to head on back and check that out. That's really a little bit more about your day-to-day needs with water, not really talking about kind of acute sickness with water. So why is water so important when we're sick? Our immune system does use up a ton of it. So what happens is our white blood cells go into the area and they start fighting off the virus or bacteria, which is great, that's what we want. And then they release these chemicals called cytokines that recruit other immune cells and more immune cells to help with the fight. The thing with these cytokines is that they're inflammatory, right? And we know that inflammation is a lot of where we get these uncomfortable symptoms when we're sick. And especially what inflammation does is it pulls water out of the normal tissue space into other places. So that's where we get this kind of swelling and inflamed membrane of the throat and the sinuses and the lungs. So it actually, when it pulls all of this extra water, we end up kind of getting dehydrated, right? So it's really, really important to keep up on lots of water. And you might be thinking, well, isn't that going to make me even more inflamed? Actually, it's the opposite. When you drink enough water when you're sick, it helps to flush out all of those extra inflammatory immune chemicals through your liver and kidneys, so then they're out of the body. So increased water actually helps decrease inflammation, which is fabulous. So that's really what we want to go for. This is my cat Max coming on down. Where was I? So with water, it's also really important because when we're sick, we usually produce a lot of mucus, right? So the mucus is great. We all think of it as kind of this disgusting, awful stuff that's sticky and it makes us even sicker. Really, your mucus is a great way to protect all of these really delicate linings that the virus and bacteria can attach to. So your body's doing you a really, really great favor by increasing this mucus production, as much as it might seem like it's not. Sometimes it goes a little overboard and we have just a ton of mucus that we have to deal with. So that's why water comes in and is so important, because instead of being this thick, sticky, gummy mucus that really gets stuck in our sinuses or lungs and leads to secondary infections like bronchitis or sinusitis, the water thins out that mucus. So it makes it way easier for your body to expel it, right? Either through coughing or blowing your nose. And sometimes if it's thin enough, the body can really just reabsorb it. But oftentimes it does need to actually come up. But it makes that process much shorter and much quicker. And it greatly decreases your risk of developing something as serious as pneumonia or a chronic sinus infection. So water is incredibly important. So one thing you do want to be careful of when you're drinking lots of water is you want to make sure your mineral balance is up, especially if you have a fever and you're sweating. So a great way to get extra minerals is to eat some bone broth or some soup broth in general. That's a perfect sick food. It's really chock full of minerals and nutrients and soothing things for your GI. It just kind of increases your energy level a little bit, hydrates you, and keeps your mineral balance up. So I almost always have already made chicken stock in my freezer. I just make it up. It takes about 12 hours to do, up to 24. So if you're acutely sick, that's a little bit tough to wait that long for the bone broth to be done. So if you're in a time crunch, I would highly recommend just making some veggie broth. Super simple, maybe 12 cups of water or so, some celery, carrot, lots of garlic and onion. Those garlic and onion and the sulfur producing foods have these wonderful, have a wonderful ability to break up mucus. So really important when you're sick. You can add a little bit of ginger, carrot, celery, onion, and then just throw it in the pot, let it soak, bring it to a boil, let it simmer for an hour, and you're done. Season to taste with salt. I really like throwing in some black peppercorns as well for that little spiciness, and it also cuts up that mucus, and some bay leaves. But that's really simple. It's done in an hour. You've got high nutrient broth right there for you. That's the perfect food for helping you get over being sick. So moving on to step number 2 for this easy hack for helping you get over your sickness more quickly would be to avoid over-the-counter cold and flu meds. So that's anything from Tylenol, aspirin, Advil, Theraflu, NyQuil, Dayquil, Delsum. Most of these meds are fever reducing and cough suppressing in a certain way. So they do make you feel better up front, definitely. I'll give you that. But unfortunately, when we do that, we suppress these symptoms. So if we think about what we're doing, your body's creating these symptoms because something's wrong, right? And suppressing them does help us get through the day, of course, but then we have to deal with the suppression, right? It's not actually addressing the virus or bacteria that's underneath it. So the virus or bacteria are still growing. They're taking away resources for your immune system right there. So that's one battle your immune system is waging. And then if you take Tylenol, Advil, NyQuil, any of these things, you're also adding another layer that your body has to fight against, right? Because these symptoms are actually helping your body heal. And when you put these medications on top of it to lower a fever or to get rid of a cough, your body has 2 battles to fight now. It's fighting off the medication and it's fighting off the illness. So oftentimes just removing these medications can help your progress healing so much. I've seen it cut people's time in half, literally just this one step by avoiding those medications. Yes, you're more uncomfortable, absolutely. I hear you there, and it's never fun to go through that, but it's also over much more quickly. And using these medications, this is really how people get these chronic long-term infections or a cough that won't go away for a month, because they've suppressed so much that this mucus can't get out. The body isn't strong enough anymore. Its resources have been depleted over weeks of fighting both of these battles, and then it kind of gives up and it goes into this chronic kind of pneumonia or bronchitis mode because it doesn't have enough resources left. So avoiding these medications can be really helpful in the meantime. And the one thing that I really do like to use, or especially when you have a fever, but it's great when you have a cough or cold or any kind of illness, upper respiratory going on, would be to do a hot Epsom salt bath. It is fantastic. So usually what happens with the hot Epsom salt bath is it takes away those aches and fever and chills right away, almost instantly. So what happens with the bath is that you're essentially creating an artificial fever. So this helps 2 ways. One, by getting your core temperature up, you're recruiting more immune cells by increasing your circulation, which is fabulous. And then you're also helping the body to kill off the virus. The virus can only live at a very specific temperature, which is usually around 98.6, and it has a small range. That's why your body creates this fever. It's attempting to make your core temperature high enough that that virus can't live. So by inducing an artificial fever, or maybe even supplementing the fever you already have, you're helping the body to get ahead in this battle, and that virus dies off much more quickly. Oftentimes you can take a hot bath. If it's that hot and you're sweating in it, which is fabulous, that's really what you want. You want to do it really short duration, maybe only 8 or 10 minutes. If you start to feel faint or dizzy, get out immediately. You don't want to overdo it. It's this really delicate balance between stimulating the immune system and not draining your resources and taking effort away from that immune system. Bundle up afterwards, keep that core temperature up, get in bed, go to sleep. Oftentimes you feel much better and that fever has broken already. So speaking of a fever as well, it's really important to know that for adults, going up to even 104 degrees is totally safe. It truly is. So I would highly recommend having a thermometer on hand, because you can feel completely miserable with 100-degree fever or 101-degree fever, especially if your body temperature usually resides a little bit lower than that 98.6. So having that thermometer helps you check in, see where your immune system's at. Has the fever gone up or down? Has it broken? What's happening? And then it kind of helps you normalize your symptoms as well. Like, okay, this is what I feel like at 100 degrees, or it's up at 101. And then it also kind of takes away that urgency of, oh my gosh, I need to do something about this. I'm so uncomfortable. This must be really scary and really bad. Knowing where your fever is in that range can be really, really helpful, and take away a lot of that anxiety around, how intense your symptoms are. So if it does get over 104, that's when you really want to take some fever reducing measures and consider taking some fever suppressant medication, or even just submerging the lower half of your body in an ice bath. That will bring your core temperature down quite a bit as well. So our third tip for kicking those colds out sooner is to rest. This is probably the hardest one out of any of them, because we are really not very good about giving ourselves permission to rest. And rest is not sleep. I wanted to make that differentiation. Rest is really downtime during the day, right? Allowing yourself to relax, maybe not even engage with a book or TV, just have some downtime. This requires patience, and unfortunately we are not usually very patient with our health. We want to get back to work, we want to get back to our life, but your body is giving you this very strong message that it needs this time to rest. And the more you give it up front, the more rest you allow, the sooner and quicker you're going to recover. Your body is extremely efficient, and your immune system's very efficient, and it wants to feel better as soon as possible too. So the more leeway you give it with that rest and that patience, it will respond quickly to that. And this is the hardest part, I think, is giving ourselves permission to just be, enjoy some bone broth, relax, lay by the fire, take a bath, really slow life down, because that's the signal you're getting. So you really want to respect that. Your body does absolutely know what it's doing, even though maybe it doesn't feel like it, where it's making you feel miserable, but it is working to a better end. Once you're through it, you'll feel so much better, and oftentimes if you treat things naturally, people notice a boost in their health afterwards, because you cleared out all of this junk that's been built up with the sickness. So those are my top 3 tips. I hope that really helps. I hope you take them to heart. I hope you give them a shot the next time you're sick. As simple as they are, I promise you they really, really do work, and I hope you give yourself a chance to find out. Okay, thanks so much for watching. Bye.